You know, Dr. Motherway, you said earlier that perhaps your regret is that with all your years of work, you haven't been able to make energy efficiency kind of cool and sexy. Maybe, maybe it is in the technology. I mean, we're all talking about, you know, do you have a 10 or 11? I think I got a 5 or 2.5 or whatever. But you know, we talk about what we're able to access on our apps, and certainly young people are really very focused on the capabilities that they have at their fingertips now. So maybe that's how we make it cool. It's not in, and by making it cool, then you realize as you're looking at this, I'm actually saving money, I'm reducing a carbon footprint. Maybe it's time just had to come through the ability to do this in a very smart and technologically advanced way. I wanted to ask a question to you, Ms. Lakey, and this is regarding your testimony that the United States is number 10 in terms of where we stack up in leadership on energy efficiency. Italy, Germany, France are in the top there. When we look to the good ideas in other places, what are these 9 countries ahead of us doing that we could look to and adapt? Are there anything that stand out to you?
Thank you for the question, Madam Chair. There are 3 areas that really drive the energy intensity of any country. The transportation system, as we've talked about, the industrial infrastructure, and the built environment. Those are the 3 major categories or areas where energy is used. Electricity and energy being separable. Some use in primary energy and some use electricity. But the areas that we see that are driving some of those countries to the top of the list that the United States still needs to consider are around our transportation systems. Transportation emissions are now the largest source of emissions in the United States, surpassing those of other areas. And that transportation efficiency is something we haven't covered extensively in the hearing today. We'd be happy to submit additional ideas. But using and leveraging the electrification of transportation is also something that that other countries are doing more successfully. In Japan, for example, electric trains technology. China is using train technology as well. So there are opportunities for us to think about those. The second on industry is that many countries have an industrial sector that is newer than the United States, and not in Europe but elsewhere. So China, when the ranking is higher than ours today, there may be opportunities for us to really consider how we do industrial upgrades and industrial system improvements. The Chinese have a younger infrastructure. We could match that infrastructure if we were making investments and if our companies and our corporations had incentives and financing to do so. The third is around buildings, and we've spoken about buildings extensively. In Europe in particular, many of the labeling and performance certifications that are required there are enforced and are raised in standard. I think Dr. Motherway already laid out that those standards are already increasing in efficiency expectations over time so that builders and others know what to expect. Ours remain flat and constant and then have to go through a revision process, which then is negotiated over time. So that incline for efficiency can be built into policy rather than to be reflective of a certain point in time.
Appreciate